Hey guys, Bridge here. In this video we're going to talk about how to quickly improve your UI design skills and some of the major mistakes and things to avoid whenever I am interviewing or looking at portfolios of junior designers. So let's get started with the very first tip, and that is not going dark with the fonts and not really optimizing for legibility, since that's going to be a key point whenever you're creating any type of projects. You want to put legibility and accessibility at the forefront of your goals. So for example, as you can see over here, we have this font and we have all these different colors. Now the reason why this is in black, and by the way, this is a UI kit which I created several years ago. You can check it out, but it's mainly for the purpose of demonstration. So as you can see, we have this text which is black, and it's black for a reason, while these other ones are gray. Now we could actually make the argument that if we make these black, we're not going to have as much of a difference compared to the other one, but this is going to increase the legibility quite a bit. So definitely keep these things in mind. I'm noticing that a lot of junior designers, and also I did the same when I was first starting out, they really wanted to keep things light when it comes to fonts and things of that nature, but it's not really going to make a big impact on the UI if you just make the elements just a little bit more dark, since as you can see, it's going to basically improve the legibility quite a bit in without really having a huge impact on the screen itself. Now, another thing which is really important to keep in mind is whenever you're creating a web app, a software, or improving a current product for a client, is that a lot of the times as designers, we take things for granted, especially as we start working on a project for weeks, months, and even potentially years, because we know how the software works. And it's easy to make the assumption that a user which is going to hop on the software for the first time is going to immediately understand how it works. But that's something that you really have to pay attention to. And what you want to do is you want to make it extremely clear on how to use the software. Now, how do you do that? Well, there's essentially two ways that you can do it. The first one is to create a onboarding sequence, which is going to essentially guide the user through what the software looks like. And another great way, which I had a lot of success with in the past, is to basically make the user go inside of the web app and then use things like tooltips. So say that this is the first page of the dashboard or a software, and then you would have like tooltips. So it's almost like small little windows pop-ups that appear throughout different elements of the app, and then you say like continue, and then it goes to the other thing and it describes what that element is. And basically by doing that, you're teaching the user directly in the app. So instead of showing them maybe like a video or some static screenshots, you are essentially showing them how the app works on the go, and that can be really effective and something that you definitely want to consider and suggest your clients if they haven't implemented a solution like that. Now, granted, in other cases, videos are going to work better or just simple onboarding sequences, but this is definitely a great idea to keep in mind. Now, another thing that you want to do sparingly is to use center text. Now, a lot of the times you want to use center text if a specific composition benefits from it. So for example, right here, you can see how we have this text of these labels in the center. And I mean, potentially we could make the argument that this could work also left aligned, but in this specific instance, just the composition works better. But if we have a lot of text, such as this one right here, yeah, we could potentially center it, but it's going to like send long text is going to be less readable if you center align it compared to left align it. And the reason being is that left align, you have this line right here, or I'm going to just zoom in, and basically makes it for an easier reading experience, especially because we're so used to also this type of formatting, while centered and right aligned is not going to be as efficient. So definitely keep this in mind and use the center text sparingly for small amounts of text. And also another thing that you want to keep in mind is that white space is your friend. Don't be afraid of white space. Now, white space can be an amazing thing because it allows you to create focus points. And the reason why this is key is because if you don't have anything around a specific element, you're going to drive the focus to just one point. So in this case, you can see how the focus is all centered around the call to action and this element right here. And the same is true also in cases like sign up and sign in screens. So you can see how all the focus is here, but if I start adding elements, it's just going to basically make the entire screen more cluttered, and the focus point might be lost in between. So definitely keep this in mind as you're creating your web experiences, and both for your projects and for clients, of course. Now, another thing to keep in mind is to use blurs and shadows in moderation. So things like this, where you have a blur, you don't want to overdo it, because otherwise you're going to even potentially lose track of why you're using the blur in the first instance. So for example, here the reason why we use the blur is to basically indicate that this element is on top of this one, and the entire focus of the screen is going to be on this side menu at this given moment. So this is something that you want to keep in mind, and you want to always have a specific reason why you are using a certain type of blur or shadow. And you know, even things like shadow, like for example in this case the shadow is quite dramatic, and just wanted to create this version in order to really make this element stand out. But you can see how the more blur we apply, the more shadow, the more it's going to create conflicts throughout the other elements in the UI as well. Especially if you make the shadow very prominent, you can see how now the design is going to break pretty easily. So yeah, this is pretty much it for this video. I want to remind you that I recently launched a free course on how to get started in UI UX design, so feel free to check it out if you're interested in this topic. And on my YouTube channel, I have over 400 videos showing both tutorials such as this one, and also software tutorials which are going to bring you through all the basics. And yeah, if you're interested in this topic, feel free to check it out, and I'll see you in the next video.